So welcome to Bread Mixing 101 here at Kitchens Etc., starring our Swedish-built Assistent mixer. So today we're just going to show you the basic method that we use here every day to make bread. First of all, we've got a variation of ingredients here, but you know, your recipe might call for something different. So the method is most important. We at Kitchens here also sell the equipment that we use, so it's kind of interesting. We grind up our own wheat fresh every day, so you get the best nutritional value out of the product that you can. So this is a health benefit for the most part. So we'll start off here very quickly and just show you the basic procedure that we go through every morning so that we keep the store smelling nice with fresh baked bread every day. First of all, we're going to start with water. Now this recipe that we're going to make here for you today is going to yield approximately 6 loaves of bread. So that's approximately 5 cups of water. You'll notice that when I'm adding ingredients, I'm not too worried about the measurements. In this case, bread is not rocket science. So we like to use kind of our intuition when it comes to what the bread dough should look like when it's ready to take out of the bowl and put into the pans. So we've added our 5 cups of water. Audrey has very caringly set out the other ingredients here that we will use. We've got some oil and a couple of other things, including honey, salt, molasses, and of course yeast to make the bread dough rise. So in this case, again with no measuring, we've got our water. I'm going to add oil. Okay. The next ingredient I'm going to add is some honey. Okay, we use natural sugar ingredients to help activate the yeast. It's a little healthier than using white sugar, although your recipe might call for something different. Remember, it's just the method. We're demonstrating the mixer. Got a little bit of molasses here as well. Adds a little bit of color, some texture and flavor to the bread dough. Okay. And then our ingredients here are salt, about a tablespoon. Yeast, we're going to do approximately 2.5 to 3 of those. And then we've got dough enhancer that we also choose to add. I'm going to put in 2. Now as you can see on our mixer here, we've got a good capacity. 6.6 quart bowl. This machine will accept up to 23 cups of flour or so in a bread batch. The one that we're doing today we like to call a medium-sized batch because it probably won't exceed about 14 cups. If you look at the front of the mixer here, we've got 2 different control dials. One is for speed and one is to turn the mixer on and off, as well as allow you to set a timer. Some recipes might call for that. In this case today we're not going to use the timer, as we're going to use our intuition as far as the bread dough making goes. So I'm going to turn the machine on now and get the ingredients just initially mixing together. We're going to turn the speed up just a little bit, and if you look inside of the bowl you can see that the dough hook stays put and the bowl itself turns. So this allows for better transfer of power as far as we're concerned. This mixer has been this basic design since the 1930s, so they definitely know what they're doing. And again, fresh ground whole wheat flour, very important in our bread batches, but your recipe might call for something different if you're making buns, for example. So I'm going to start adding flour fairly quickly to the recipe. Remember that when you're using fresh ground whole wheat flour, water is going to absorb into it at a slower rate than white flour would. So mixing times for fresh whole wheat flour and white flour are going to vary. White flour usually taking less time and fresh whole wheat flour taking a little bit longer. And the reason for that is because bran, which is of high content in this flour, absorbs water at a much slower rate than the gluten portion of the flour does. As you can see, we've already got some action. The dough hook is already doing its job to a certain extent, although we don't have nearly enough flour. As time goes by here, you'll notice that the dough itself, when it starts to become uniform, will basically start to clean off the wall of the bowl on its own. And that's a good indication to us that the gluten has begun to set. And that's when we start to kind of think about, in our heads, timing approximately 6 to 12 minutes, depending on the temperature of the water, the humidity in the room. These are all factors that can affect the end result of the bread. And that's why we don't usually like to follow the timer as much as follow what we know the bread should look like at the end. So here I am talking and not adding flour. Although, I told you before, bread making is not rocket science. Its feelings are hurt. So we can take a look inside of here and see now, obviously the dough is definitely becoming more uniform. The dough hook is on an arm that actually floats back and forth through the mixture, allowing it to move once that dough becomes very heavy, which is very important because you don't want to overwork the mixer by having the dough hook stay put. As you can see, we're starting to clean the wall of the bowl off a bit now. The dough is definitely a little bit wet as well still, so I'm still adding ingredients. A lot of mixers require a lid being put on when you're working with them because the ingredients might have a tendency to start coming out of the machine as you're working with it. The Assistant is designed so that it doesn't do that. As you can see, it's a very, very clean and easy method. And it saves our hands and it saves our arms. No more hand beating. So the family would be very impressed. The Assistant also comes with a little spatula right here, which is designed to assist us in moving some of this down off of the hook if it crawls up a little bit during the mixing process. I want to be able to do what I call the pinch test on this bread to ensure that it is at the right moisture content and the gluten has been set up properly for rising. So as the dough is mixing, I'm going to once in a while reach into the mixer and grab it and give it a little bit of a pinch. If the dough sticks to my fingers like it does here, just a little bit, I can tell that it still needs a little bit more kneading time. And we obviously haven't gone long enough yet. I'm going to turn the speed of the mixer up a little bit now. Okay. As you can see, the action that's taking place here is the bowl is moving the dough around the dough hook, as opposed to the dough hook moving the dough as in other mixers. So this does not require nearly as much energy to be exerted by the mixer, therefore allowing this mixer to last you many, many, many years without breaking down. And this is our hope. Of course, kitchens, etc., services what we sell. Here we go with our little helper spatula. As you can see, the dough is not sticking to the spatula nearly as much as it was before. So this is a good indication to me, and also by the pinch test, that we're getting very close to having the right moisture level. The amount of flour that I'm adding now is more of just a little bit of fine tuning just to give the dough some texture. We don't want it to be too heavy. This is a walk in the park for this mixer. The Assistant is a diverse piece of kitchen equipment as well, which has many different attachments available and is designed to do anything from standard cookies and cake mixes all the way to bread, pierogi and noodle dough, and of course everything in between. Hence the name Assistant. So as that's mixing, we're going to show you what else we have sitting here that comes with the mixer. First of all, we've got the cookie roller. So this is specifically designed to fit in the bowl and run alongside the bowl and turn and allow the dough to fit through it. This is specifically designed for non-glutinous doughs, things that would break apart easily, like cookie doughs, for example, artisan breads and things like that. This here is actually a lid that fits over top of the bowl, and we use this as the bread is rising. And what this does is it locks in the moisture and temperature so that you get a better, quicker rise on the bread dough. That also comes with it. What we have here, and we haven't put in for the bread dough today, is the bowl scraper. I'm just going to fine-tune our flour a little bit again. The bowl scraper is designed to fit into the machine for wetter ingredients. So this will actually clean off the side of the bowl and direct the ingredients back into the cookie roller and or the dough hook, if that's what you're using. This is also another accessory that comes with the Assistant in the box. And this is the actual whipping and whistling bowl. So this is a very light-duty attachment designed for things that can be poured out of the bowl. This is not what you want to do your heavy cookie dough mixes with, because there is a chance that you could break or damage the whisk set. Let's take a look at how our bread's doing. It's coming along quite nicely. I'm going to run in here with the pinch test again. Looks very good. As you can see, not too sticky, but not too tough. So at this point, basically the mixer has done all the heavy-duty work for us. Believe it or not, this is probably between 8 and 11 pounds of dough, but you'd never be able to tell based on how hard the mixer is working. So what we're going to do now is we're going to stop the mixer, and it's time to let this dough rise up for the first time. You may choose to proof it more than once, aka punch it down if you'd like to have that dough become more fluffy. But in our working environment here, we like to do things a little bit quicker. So we usually let it proof once, then we put it into the pans, and then we put it into the oven. So in our store, the whole process from a whole kernel of wheat to a whole loaf of fresh bread is approximately an hour and 35 minutes, and that includes the prep time, the mixing time, the baking time, and the cleanup. So now I'm going to show you how to remove the dough hook from the dough, and actually this is very easy. As you can see, there's a pin that runs into this heavy-duty arm for the dough hook. What we're going to do is we're going to release the pressure just by pushing it over a wee bit like so. I'm going to lift the pin up and allow the arm to come back. And now what we do is we basically just lift the dough hook up and out of its slot, use our handy-dandy little spatula, and this is another way to tell that the dough is a perfect moisture level. You don't get a real sticky, sloppy mess stuck to the dough hook, which does make it much easier for cleanup. So then we'll just take that and put it in the sink. And now, usually what I do is I just sprinkle a little bit of flour on the top of the dough, push it down into the bowl, and it's time to give it approximately 25 to 35 minutes rising time. This is very easy to remove the bowl from the Assistant as well. So the whole process from start to finish has been thought out very well by these designers. We just lift the bowl off and we set it aside. So thanks for joining us. This is Kitchens Etc., number 5510 Circle Drive East, Saskatoon, Saskatchewan.